Today I'll be talking about the process of finding and hiring people, particularly talented people. That's people to employ. Or a room of like-minded people, I guess. That's how. So first, obviously, let's say my experience to say why I would be pseudo-qualified to explain, hiring people. So given my experience, I've hired a variety of people across various disciplines. I've hired business people, designers, and particularly lots of hackers. If you do some sort of engineering, I'd probably fiddle around apps or something at some point. It's always good. And one thing I find especially interesting is I hired an NLP engineer. Now you guys don't know me, but I know jack squat about NLP. That was probably the hardest hiring decision I've had to make. Because then you're not only dealing with the process of grading someone or evaluating someone and stuff that you have expertise in, but evaluating something based on other people's expertise. And I essentially crowdsourced all of my candidates' information to pit them against each other. So then I figured out who was the best. So it was an interesting mechanism. But I won't go into specific mechanics of that. I'll kind of just discuss, hopefully, the hiring process for any type. So not necessarily specific engineering type people, but even given perspective, it will be probably towards a founder hiring some sort of engineering or tech person. Given what I've had to do to hire those people, I would say I've looked at thousands of resumes, but I've only had to directly critique and annotate a few, 5 or 700, because those were the only good ones. I spent a few thousand hours on this and over $10,000 in just hiring people in various facets. So before we get into the specifics of what hiring is, I'll discuss some pro tips of when you should get into hiring and when you shouldn't get into hiring. So first, try and stay small as long as possible. Some people find it an ego trip to try and hire people, say oh, our team has 3 interns. That's a great thing. But think about it. That only drives up your costs. And also, if you can have a team of 3 people and a team of 10 people, and they both do the same amount of work, that team of 3 people is way, way more impressive, especially to investors. So that's an important thing to do. Another thing to keep in mind is a false negative is a lot less detrimental than a false positive. So I would much rather turn away a perfect candidate than hire someone that's bad. Because getting rid of that person that you hired that's bad is just so time-consuming, and it's just so difficult and costly, and you need to start the whole process over again, even if you may not be ready. And if that's one of your first people, that can and will kill your company. That's very consistent advice that many people have said. Another key I say, obviously, don't embellish. Some people, when they're hiring, they try and say oh, here's 10 reasons why our company is so amazing and better than every other company, right? I think honesty and transparency is very important here, because if you can hire someone and then, as they step in the first few weeks, they realize this isn't as I expected, they're going to be very upset and distraught and not on your side, and that will increase your churn. And it's important to retain people, right? You don't want to just get them in the door. After you get them in the door, you want to keep them in the door. That's very important. And a few general rules that Paul Graham said is A's hire B's, B's hire C's, right? You can't hire people that are necessarily better than you in every facet, right? If, let's say, you're a mediocre developer, why would some, extreme awesome developer want to work for you, right? They want to work with people that, inspire them, that they find exciting. Similarly enough with ideas, right? If you have, an okay idea, you probably can't get, the top people to work on it, just because why wouldn't they work on something that's super exciting for them? Why would they work on normal things? I think there's a difference. Some people are always in this passive form of hiring. I think it's very important to have an on-off mode for recruitment. Always be networking. That's important to keep your pipeline open. But if you're recruiting, I would say if it's on 20-30% of your time, in the startup run, that should be at least 20 hours a week. I know that's very costly, but hiring is important. Get it correct. And lastly, I'll cover lots of various ways of how to evaluate and pick up on flags for people and how to gauge things quicker. But part of this is following your instincts. Now, I had a caveat where I would not hire someone for instincts, but I would definitely not hire them based on my instincts. If I'm working with someone, I say, on paper they look pretty good, but there's just something about them, through talking to them, it just doesn't feel right. The revolution humans have aged and have grown a very good bullshit filter. So, if someone's bullshitting you, you may have a little hint of it. So, if you're maybe this isn't the right fit, seriously don't, because a few months later after you bring them in the door, you'll be like, oh my god, I knew it, I knew there was something wrong, I screwed this up, and it's horrible. Okay, so now if I haven't scared you away from hiring people, and you absolutely must, here's an introduction of how to start hiring people. So as we all know, we like the quick and sneak, right? So here's a secret formula that's very popular. Okay, so first you find people, particularly talented people. You hire them, you keep them. Something happens, you make a lot of money. We all like that. Now we know that obviously this isn't necessarily the truth. There's lots of stuff in between. But particularly in my talk today, I'll be focusing on especially these first 2 points and a bit in the third. I think the third point is especially super important and finicky, and there's lots of ways to do it. I'll only cover the basis, but I'll especially be focusing on 1 and 2 today. So let's start with the basics. Let's start about the good stuff, right? We've been talking about some negative things, so why not start? Why to hire, right? So first off, if you're hiring people, great. Big thumbs up to you. Your company is growing. You're at the point where you need to expand to meet new people, right? The demand for your product, you simply can't keep up. You need to bring new people in the door to keep your customers happy and keep building new things. So just the fact that you have to hire people means your company is growing. That's great. Secondly, obviously output. As you get new people, you can drastically expand the things that your team is capable of doing, and that's awesome. And third, I know Loves is a little over dramatic, but I still think it's very awesome that you're able to find someone and share something you're super passionate about, right? If you have an idea, whether it's something you found, whether it's a company or a project, and say, hey, this is a problem, I just deeply empathetic for, this is super important to me, and I very much care about it, and you can share that with someone, and they can say, I agree with you, I think this is important, and I want to spend part of my life helping you get that and make that a reality. I think that is very powerful, and that's very awesome being able to share your vision with people. Okay, some of the bads. Process is very slow. If you want to hire people, particularly talented people, it takes a lot of time, even months. This can vary for different types of roles. Some are a lot more niche than others, and it can be a lot more difficult. Obviously, it's stressful. You wouldn't be hiring people for no reason. You're hiring people because you need things, and that means people are pressuring you, right? You have some deadlines you need to meet, and if you're not bringing in people in the door, that's an issue, right? Because you're falling behind your development schedule, all that. So it can be really hard pressed to try and make sure you get things and manage everything properly. And lastly, it's actually pretty hard. Whoever you're trying to pick up, you're spending a lot of effort in and a lot of time, and the stakes are so high that you can't mess it up, so you kind of have to obsess and try and perfect it. So that just makes it inherently difficult. And then lastly, the uglies. Unfortunately, we know that there are truthful people and there are liars. There are plenty of people that will lie in the interview process, whether it's something on their resume or even a little white lie that ends up being a lot more serious. So that's just a horrible thing that I don't necessarily like to talk about. Another is dropouts. I think we all probably have experienced this to a degree, and I think we inherently have a different perspective on it. So one thing I've noticed is, let's say if you guys are getting job offers, right, from 2 or 3 different companies, right? Say, okay, well, company A, I really, really like them, that's great, I'm probably going to accept their offer, right? And company B comes along and says, hey, we'd like to interview you. You say, okay, sure, I'll do that. Even though you're 95% sure you're going to go with company A, right? You're not even really considering company B. For some reason, people still go through the process because they find it fun or exciting, and they do get experience, which is great, but they're kind of leading them on, right? If they already know, anticipate that you're not going to accept the offer, it's kind of harsh. You're wasting their resources and you're wasting their time. So I've experienced this personally where I've spent 2 or 3 months trying to onboard someone, and within the last few weeks of them trying to sign, they're yeah, hey, this isn't within my pay grade, I'm going to be doing quant stuff for $400K a year, I just did this for fun. I'm you're such a douchebag. I didn't tell them that. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. It was soul crushing. So dropouts are never fun. Especially, last thing being limits. In a perfect reality, we'd have an infinite amount of time, an infinite amount of money. You can hire practically everyone, right? The real can be really hard and daunting to try and make that perfect hiring decision with these constraints. So yeah, that's something that's important. So now we'll discuss more of the anatomy of the hiring process. So first off, we'll say is employment branding. We probably won't have this, but some larger companies obviously will have a website where people already have their name out there, and it's a lot easier for them to get direct applications, right? After that, the sourcing, you need to pool people and inform them of whatever you're working on and say, hey, this is the thing that's possible. Get them in the door, at least have them associate and understand your brand. After that, obviously, you have to interview people. Hopefully, if it goes well, give them an offer, and then hopefully they like you enough that they want to spend time with you and accept that offer and they become a new hire. And then obviously you need to retain them. So going through this step by step, we'll talk about sourcing. There's over 7 billion people on the planet. Probably 0 of them know about your idea, your company, your project that you're currently working on or in the future. So it's a difficult process to inform them of that, right? So before we start about how we're going to inform all these people, here's some stuff you need to get in order before you start trying to inform people about the position that you're opening. So first you need to figure out your constraints, right? You need to figure out how much are you able to pay these people, what's your timeline, and how many people on your team are you able to dedicate towards this hiring process for filling the position. That you also need to make a culture fit. Some people don't necessarily stress this enough, but all successful companies, especially small companies, even like Airbnb, they stress culture super much. They spent over 5 months hiring their first employee. In their first year of hiring, with many, many people, including the founders, they only hired 2 people. So culture is very important because if you mess that up right out of the gate, it can't be fixed. Or at least it's very difficult to be. So what I suggest doing is make a list of all the things you find important, what your company represents, how you feel people in your company should interact with each other. Obviously, it should be a very easy-going conversation with your founders, because obviously you've been working with them. And then debate that. Really be hard-pressed and try and make a definitive list. Then obviously more specific stuff to the role. You need to make a job description. You say hey, what is this person actually going to be held accountable for? What are they managing? What are they influencing? What do they have power over? What do I need from this person? Whether it's a certain skill, experience, and then how much we're actually going to pay these people. And then on top of that, since you don't want to start sourcing people and have nowhere to go, you need to have an interview strategy at least somewhat made up in your mind before you start trying to bring people in. So first of that, you need to figure out what are your stages or steps of your interview process, who are actually going to be interviewing, what the content of those interviews are going to be, and also finally, how are you going to evaluate them? How are you going to say, okay, given how this person performed in these various metrics, should we hire them or not, right? Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, where can we find these people? How can we spread the great idea about our amazing project and get everyone to submit their resume, right? So there are a few different sources. I actually rank these in my preference. So I'll start at 1 and go down to 7. Obviously, referrals are the best. If I trust someone's judgment and they say so-and-so is probably a good hire and fit for you, I'm going to, that will influence my decision. I'll still obviously take full account when I try and figure things out, but it's free. You get a good amount of people from that. So if you can, they're already a little pre-vetted. Referrals are awesome. After that, direct applicants, if you are, talking to people and people start sending you in, whether it's your website or whatever, direct applicants, it's free. You get a little amount of people, but at least they're extra interested, right? Third, communities, I would say, one example is, let's say, if you're trying to hire an NLP person and you go to the Facebook group or the LinkedIn group for NLP engineers, right? And you post a job posting there. I think communities are good because those people already have that focus, if that's possible. They already are in that niche. It's usually free, and all those people are pseudo relevant. People that don't have an interest in those things don't join in. So you already are increasing the quality of those members. So obviously there's incubators and fellowships. Those are more specific programs. Those can get expensive because they make you pay fees to get people. So that's a little bit lower down. Job boards, obviously you can have a high reach with those people, but quality of that pool is pretty good. But just because it's focused and because anyone can get access to that. So high reach, but it's not really that good. Sponsorships. This is a creative way to get hires. So a few things I've done in the past is, let's say, sponsor an NLP competition like Hacker, right? Put in a few $100 or a few thousand and say, hey, put our logo up on like sponsors. Surprisingly, some companies do that. I think that's why. What was that company? TripAdvisor. Like every semester, they're like, hey, let's put our logo on every programming competition, and they pay for that. But they get some amount of referrals through that, so that's helpful. Lastly, headhunters. If you're super time crunched and money's not an issue, this is probably a good option for you. Just because like these are people that's like you expedite to a third party. They like have a list of people and they'll like say, hey, here's 5 people. Tell me what you think of them. We need to have an interview. It's a lot more faster, but that's extremely expensive. So in the air of like paying like 10 to 20% of their base salary, like upfront. So very expensive, but if that's not a concern, then that's fine. So when you're considering all these different avenues, it's important to say, what's the best for me? I think a very basic equation for this is reach versus quality, right? So obviously, if you have the reach, the total number of people that a particular avenue has influence over, and times like the percentage, the quality of, say 50% of these people could be good for this position, right? Depending on whatever the community is. That would result in the total amount of potential hires. Now, obviously, if you have like low reach and low quality, it's worthless. And if you have like high quality anywhere, that's awesome. One thing that I think is especially dangerous, and you should think about before you start pursuing a particular avenue, is if it has a high reach and a low quality. Because that means that you're going to have a high throughput of like hundreds to 1,000 candidates, and only 10 of them are going to be good. So that means you just like, not only are you only getting 10 good candidates, but you had to take the time to read 1,000 applications. And that's annoying, right? That's a lot of wasted time. So when you try outsourcing, here's a few pro tips. One, keep a spreadsheet. This is insanely important. I know plenty of people that are like, they'll just try and commit everything to memory and say, oh yeah, I'll remember these 40 people that are currently applying to a job and where they're in this month. That's not going to happen. You need to keep track of that stuff. Document everything. Another is be really responsive. If you're taking like 2 or 3 days to respond to like a candidate's email, like they're going to think you're not taking them seriously and you're being unprofessional. Like this is their job search. This is very important. This is their livelihood. Take this seriously. Do not waste their time. And also, if you're being really responsive, people appreciate that, and that will be in their consideration if they decide to actually work for you with them later on. So that will increase your throughput later on in the month. Another, just basic managerial, have like a lead person for each candidate. Like, don't have multiple people reaching out to the same candidate. I've been in the unfortunate circumstance where people like mix up emails, names, they'll spam someone multiple things. It makes you look stupid, it makes you look lazy, it's not good. Have someone focused on each person. And another, this is directly through experience, but obviously we know not everyone can directly work in the United States, unfortunately, like if they're international. So it's important that you ask, but it's tough. Like I've had times where like, if you're at a time crunch, you need to ask this up front. You can't like ask if they're a citizen, that's technically illegal. I've had a debate about that. Anyways, but you can ask like if they require sponsorship, because the part is, if like this person is a magical match, right? They're great, they're perfect for your company. But then they say, oh, by the way, like, when you're giving them the offer, they say, I need H-1B, by the way. And you're like, shit, I need to spend a few months figuring this out. Like, I am boned right now. Because, like, my timeline's already, like, scrunched out. So, like, it's totally fair, it's totally respectful, it's totally okay to ask someone up front about that. Just don't say turn them away or, like, discriminate against that. It's just keep that on your radar. Make sure you ask them. Because sometimes you'll be surprised. And when that surprises you, it'll kill you. Okay, so now let's get into actual interviews themselves. So let's say, you spammed out, you got like tens of thousands of applicants, and now you said, okay, people know about our product, we have people applying. Now we need to figure out if they have talent, right? Part of interviews is figuring out if people have any talent. So part of the thing that I think is always important that people don't stress about interviews is it's not just the candidate selling themselves to you, it's you selling the company to that person, right? You need to say like, hey, like, yes, I need to understand you improving yourself, like in your technical ability, whatever. But I'm a potential prospect employer for you. Like, I need to make sure that like, hey, like I'm putting out a good image, right? Because like you're only seeing me, you're not seeing like every person on this team. So I need to say, hey, like, I'm putting a very good impression. You need to say, wow, like I actually like these people. They're very nice, they're very pleasant. And if you're putting a bad image of your company out there, like no one's gonna want to work for you. Part of the idea of this is, I think it's funny you say a rock star methodology, but I think if someone is hiring you, right, especially like a founder, you should look up to them. Like you should be like, wow, like They are like a superhero. They are amazing. Like, I can learn so much from these people. They'd be a great mentor, right? So sometimes there's a difference of like if engineers are hiring new people, or if like a founder is hiring people. I presume, let's say, if we're a founder hiring people, it's very important to put out that methodology and saying like, hey, like I recognize that you're contributing a lot of value to our company, possibly by just considering us as an employer, and we want to be very involved in your growth. We want to make you feel important. We want to empower you, and we're going to do our best to like grow you as a person and employee and as an engineer and everything, and just show appreciation and respect for these people's time. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the anatomy. This is totally subject to change depending on like whatever the role, whatever the discipline. This is a basic, let's say, example of how I've been able to technically screen various engineers. This usually is typical for programmers or software engineers. So obviously you'll have like a screening call just to make sure someone's not crazy, because lots of people are crazy. Like it saves you a lot of time to just figure out how ridiculous. Like, are these people like way left field? Like, if so, don't waste your time with them. It happens. After that, it's good. So if you can do that, like just online, like scraping all their profiles and all that stuff, that's good. Like, you don't need to do a call to do that. Like, see if they're at least in the ballpark of being able to be a successful candidate. So if that's the case, set up an intro call. Say, hey, like my name's so and so. I work for company X. Like, I would like to, explain. Are you currently in a position of looking for employment? Like, are you open for stuff right now? If so, like, I'm in this space. Blah. Would you like to chat? If so, that's cool. Like, just get a general feeler. Nothing specific there. If people show an interest and they're open to interviews that are available, then obviously you want to do background and soft skills. So that's essentially just saying, what have you done in the past? I want to understand more about you, what you care about, why you're talking to me right now, why you're considering me as an employer, and what are you good at? So I think when you talk to people, just through their general notions of communication, like you can see how focused they are. You can see like kind of their general attitude, right? You can gauge that just from talking to people. Like if they're very like, well, it's all good. Like you can tell by talking to people, like if they're really there or not. So it's just to have a more extended chat with them and kind of understand who they are, what they're about, if they're a passionate person, etc. And after that, this more nitty-gritty, I'll explain kind of the specifics of technical. We obviously know what technical interviews are, hopefully, even though especially you can get evaluated for other things, even PMs and non-technical things. So there's a different process for everything. I'll be focused on more tech, but I'm trying to generalize this for everyone. After that, I would suggest all those things are great to do online, because that's essentially free for you. It only costs you your time. When you start trying to fly people out to your office or like wherever to meet up, that's expensive. Obviously, that for small projects you wouldn't need to do that, but if it's something serious for like a startup company, it's very important to have those kind of in-person meetings. So essentially, like set up a lunch, talk to people, see what they're about, and see like can you spend time around with this person? Because if they're annoying for like in the first 30 minutes of talking to them, you're not going to want to work with them for like a few years. Especially these last two things are totally optional. I wouldn't say they're unorthodox, but they are not as common. So I would suggest that if you can like have a hackathon or like a grind session with someone, say, hey, like let's just work on this thing for a few days. That's a really good way to gauge how you guys work together as a team. And it could save you a lot of time. I think it's good for both the employer and the employee perspective. And also try out periods and say, hey, like we'll try this out. Because obviously at will employment, like anyone can quit anytime. But if you give them more flexibility, say, hey, if you want to work on other things, like for a little bit, we try out this, for a little bit, see, if you can work with our staff and how you integrate with our team. And if that works, cool. It's very what people like. So here are a few pro tips. Here's a few pro tips of outside the interview. So before the interview, you want to send people an agenda. I presume if you guys have worked with various tech companies, they'll say like, here's kind of the scope of what we're going to be reviewing in this call. They'll say like whether they're going to be asking you programming questions, if you're expected to write code, or if you are expected to write code, what is the general basis? Like I said, algorithms, database, and they'll send you even some like handy links that say, hey, here's like some info you should like skim over to understand. And I think that's really definitely not helpful for you because you want them to succeed. Like you want them to be the best candidate, so you want them to be fully prepared. And speaking of being prepared, if you're not an expertise in this area, like ask people in that area because you need to know people that are able to gauge this content. Because if you were just asking these people nonsensical questions, you're essentially wasting their time and you're not able to gauge if they're actually good at something. So if you're able to get a few good pointers, say like, here are the basics of machine learning or statistics or whatever in accounting, and be able to hire those people. So it's good to get them. And also, obviously, always be prepared. Don't show up and say, oh yeah, sorry, I just need to set up this document. It'll be like 5 minutes. Like, I would do an interview if that happens. That's just stupid and wasting my time. Okay, so now let's talk about pro tips inside the interview. So one thing I know some companies do is very important to make people feel relaxed, right? I understand that some people are obviously more comfortable than others in interviews, but some people are like, if they're especially excited for a position, they can get a little bit stressed out, right? That's understandable. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that, some people interview better than others, right? It's a skill. So I think it's important to make them feel relaxed, comfortable, settle them down, talk to them for a few minutes about whatever, something that they already have experience with, just talk to them about themselves, just to get them in the mood, so then they're able to, when they talk about more specific things, they can be more focused and on point, and they'll optimally perform better and more accurately how they do in the office, which is good. Obviously, it's always good to be supportive. Like, you want these people to succeed, help them. Don't, be a douchebag and, make fun of them or whatever. Or, try and purposely say, hey, I'm going to give you a brain teaser to show you, how smart I am at this specific thing and you aren't. That is not helpful. Lots of startup founders always try and do these brain teasers. They're totally ridiculous. Just try and, gauge people's content and how they're able to actually, generate output and perform in a company. A few important things. I know some people, they'll literally have a checklist of they have these things. It's very important to have an anti-checklist. If there's something that really stands out to you that's bad about this person, that can override lots of good stuff. So it's important to keep track of that. And most importantly, be on point. Take these things during the meeting. Don't wait a few days and then take notes later. That's not helpful for anyone at the time. And also, as always, be prepared to tell people things. So you can really be prepared. Here are a few general things I would say when you're actually in the interview. What can you look at? So obviously there's various skill things, but there's various things about someone's personality that is important, right? So let's say I think there are two main domains that you should focus on. First, if they're a high performer, right? I'm not going to list all these things. You can read that. But if they get shit done, right? If they're able to just do stuff, in any domain, in any capacity, that's important. Now in the other realm, if they're able to do stuff specifically for your company, right? If they're able to match in, because if someone may be a great performer overall, they may work better with some teams or worse with some teams. So it's important that they fit in with your company and also that they're able to get stuff done. Because if they're a great company fit, but they can't do stuff, they're worthless overall. So when we're talking about more about skill stuff, there are various things that can come to mind. One is just raw intelligence. If you're an expert in one thing, I think that's great, but people underestimate someone's ability to pick up new things, right? If you're just generally intelligent overall and have a high aptitude, you can learn things faster. I would hands down appreciate any day. If you can learn things, that's more important than just knowing them right now. If you have a very immediate need for a specific thing, I can understand trying to get people with specific things, but if you're a Renaissance man, if you can do anything, if you can learn things, that is super helpful because obviously companies grow and change over time. You need roles to be fluid too. So obviously a few things, they need to look good on paper. They need to have at least a few examples. You say, hey, what's your GitHub? Have you done projects in the past? I need to know, what have you done in this domain and have people pay you to do this before? Have you just been sitting in your garage, cranking out stuff? That's cool. But if you've actually had work experience, that's, super helpful because that already pre-gauges, if this company thought you were worth my time, well then, okay, that's something to put in consideration. So when you're gauging all these various things, I think a simple example to, guiding companies, right? So you have all these little things that you want to keep track of during an interview, but I think this is, your main focus, your main purpose in an interview, right? You want to hire people to get stuff done in your company, right? So I think a good way to gauge whether people can get stuff done is, I actually say is this TEST acronym. Essentially the things that bother you and poke at you until, to make it get stuff done. So whether you're passionate about something, you're really excited, or you're simply like you'll keep working like 20 hours a day until it's done, so you're super determined. Whether you have a particular facet of skills that you've learned, or you're just naturally adept to certain things. So the idea is you have some function, whatever it is, that applying these 4 characteristics, you can get their overall output, right, for your particular company. So one thing I always like to press is the 3 Sigma Club. That's essentially, if you are in like the top 2.5% of like performers, you're awesome, you should work for a company because you're straight magic. If you're 2 Sigma, that's cool, but I think the general idea is keep track of all those other things, but this should be a guiding compass. Figure out like how well are their performance. That's the overall purpose. In general, I'll just give you guys a quick glance. Look at the various red flags that I've seen in various interviews. These are the things that I've seen that are like, oh my god, this person can't work here, done, like, this is a waste of time from here on out. So those are some important things that people should or shouldn't do. So now, hopefully let's say, if someone's interviewed and things have gone pretty smoothly, then you're ultimately at the point where you should give them an offer. So that's exciting. A few things you need to do before you give someone an offer. Obviously, you need to figure out like specifics of base pay. You can't say, oh hey, I'm going to give you this range of base pay, because that's not how legal documents work. Everything needs to be very specific. It means benefits, stock, all that stuff. And maybe signing bonus if you're actually that's optional. Then employee agreement obviously is like all the legal jargon of like, we're not going to like murder and the company, all that great stuff. So it's important to like, make sure all your legal documents are in order before you start trying to give people offers. So here's a few things you want to do when you're extending offers that I've personally had experience with. What I think is sometimes in companies say if you have 3 people at the very last stage of your pipe, right? And you're considering these 3 people. And sometimes say, okay, well, I really want person A, so I'm going to wait on person B and C and not give them the offer letter yet, and then really like cash in and hope that person A signs. I think personally that's a little bad for all those people, especially B and C. I think it's unfair. And you're being dishonest, that's not good. But especially there's repercussions of that delaying your own timelines. That's an issue. So just honestly, just be transparent. Like, if people like pass your bar, just give them an offer letter. Don't try and like hedge bets, because they obviously pass your bar. If they didn't pass your bar, you shouldn't have given an offer letter anyways. So now let's talk about hire. So hopefully the idea is right now, let's take a moment, relax. You got success. Say, okay, so you found someone on the midst of the internet, somewhere in the universe. Say, hey, person X, I got a cool idea. You should spend lots of your time helping me make it a reality, and in turn, I'll give you money or equity or whatever, right? They say, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, now that's like a magical thing. Like you said, hey, there's a person, a great fit for me. They agree they're a great fit for you. Awesome. Okay, this is nice. So now, after we got that relaxed method of being able to hire people, here's just some basic housekeeping stuff that you need to keep track of that. Lots of legal stuff. I won't go over specifics. Those are important things for later if you ever need to check. Obviously, onboarding. I think it's important to do a thorough job of that. People get to meet the team, specifically who they're working with. Having orientation, you can get them familiar with your technologies, have them better informed of saying, hey, here's how we do things here, here's our tech stacks, here are our programs, the tools, infrastructure. Get them accustomed and really set them up in an environment and enable them to succeed, right? Because you want them to succeed, so try and set up an environment and prepare them to do that. And one thing I always like to do, which I think is nice, is a new hire gift. It's a little weird and it's a quirky perk, but the idea is a very simple thing. Let's say if you are setting up, you've got a new office or whatever. What would you like in your office? Do you want like some crazy like pinball machine? Do you want like espresso, whatever? Like just something nice that's very personalized for them, so they get to feel that you appreciate their personality and like, hey, like I understand everyone's different. Express yourself, right? And we'll give you a way to do that. So as long as it's not ridiculous and say a Ferrari, be like, offer resigned, like you can't get a Ferrari. Obviously you have to be fair about it. But it's cool to do something nice to get people excited when they're starting. So it is an exciting time. So I'm not going to list these, but I'd like you to kind of glance over and say, when you look at this, think about things that are important to employee, and I think this is a good summarization of how to retain them. These are the general principles you should follow, right? So if you can make an employee feel that you care about them, you appreciate them, and like what they're doing is actually important, like they're not wasting their time working for you, that will go a very, very long way. And so that feels that like their time is actually worth something, and it's not just the money. Because if people stick around for money, that's a bad thing. You don't want them working for you. And then obviously you want to empower them. You don't want them to stagnate. You want them to grow. You want to help them grow. You want to like lead them in the best way possible. Do all the amazing things an employer should do. And also, part of that is delegate them, give them trust and responsibility for things. Say like, hey, like I recognize that like you're good at this thing. Try and handle it. Like if they screw up, that happens. Take that into future consideration. But hedge bets. Like you hire this person because you think they're intelligent, they can help your company. Trust them to do stuff. And partly another thing I think that society at large doesn't do, but I think this is very important internally in the company, is to give employees all the credit. Some executive teams say like, oh, the CEO of this company is so amazing, they're doing all these things, but realistically, like, they are playing a very important role, but it's important for your employees like feel a form of success and achievement and say, hey, like, I'm actually doing something important here. So it's important to give them credit and help them and say, hey, like, it's not just me, like, I may be like higher up in the chain, like, I really appreciate you guys doing all that work, like, thanks for giving me your time and making things reality. So in conclusion, I'll say one slide to summarize some key takeaways that I think are super important. And I can't stress the seriousness of these points. So I put a little extra focus on this, just so I think that these are general themes that apply to everything. So one thing to take in mind is you are dealing with people's livelihood. Like, this is extremely serious. Like, this is someone's life, this is their time, the better of their years. Like, they are trusting you, right? Like, saying, like, hey, like, I think, this is a good company, and I'm going to dedicate, like, 5-10 years of my life helping these people. Like, that is very important. They can't get that time back. So I think it's very important that you take them seriously, like, you actually appreciate them and empower them and say, hey, like, what you're doing here is important, and, we really do appreciate your time. We're going to empower you to do the best you can, because, you can't mess around. Like, some people think this is a game or whatever. Like, you are dealing with people's lives. Like, that's important. Like, these are real people. They're not just, like, figures, or they're not just code or whatever. They're people. Just like you, because you're also people. So it's important to take care of them. Second, you have to be the best. You can't be number two. So the idea is, if you are the number 2 employer for everything, you're going to have 0 employees. Because realistically speaking, a person is going to look at all the companies they like, they're going to look at all the companies they got offers for, and they're going to pick the number 1 person that gave them an offer. So if you're always the number 2 company that gives someone an offer, you're never going to get picked. You need to be the number 1 for someone. So find like whatever type of people, hopefully your culture kind of narrows out and focuses on a specific niche, but find people that, really relish your culture and mix in well. Because they are your number 1s, and, you are their number 1. So it's a really good match. And another last thing is, obviously hiring, very stressful and difficult thing. The stakes are extremely high. If you mess up, like, you just wasted like months and months hiring these people, you wasted plenty of like money trying to get them in door, and also you just had fired them, so now you need to refill the position. So seriously, do not make that hire. Like, I would way more, 1,000 times more, like, turn down perfect, amazing candidates that like get hired by everyone else. I'd rather turn them away than have someone that just clearly wasn't able to get in the position. Sometimes it happens, but try and minimize that, because just having a fire, like, it's just detrimental to the company, the culture, like, resources, everything. It's just horrible. No one likes it. It's just bad for everyone, so let's avoid it. So thanks. Questions?
So you mentioned cases where you have 3 people that have a bar, and you're trying to get them off winners. How do you like mediate between who accepts first versus who gets the job? Like you said, I don't want to give A an offer and wait on B and C because that takes off B and C, and that's not really fair. But what's your alternative?
So essentially, it's the idea of if you are a landlord, right, and you have property, and you are, anyone can sign the lease, right? You distribute the lease; it's publicly available. Whoever signs it first and pays you their deposit, they get it. So like, it's hard saying like, hey, like I understand like if you have 3 weeks or a month to make this decision, if you're gonna say, hey, I'm gonna wait 29 days and then I'll reply, like, sorry if someone responds early, like that is technically their fault. Because you put the ball in their park, that is their decision. So I can understand like that is an unfortunate circumstance, but I would think that would happen less often in some position. I think that would happen very less likely than the first person turns you down and they just wasted like a month waiting to give the second people their offers, right? So I think since that's more present, that should happen. As long as you're transparent and give them the caveat, like, hey, like, this is, you have a month to decide on this, like, that's our cutoff. We think you're a great candidate, we'd love to hire you. Please be respectful of our time. Like, if something happens up, like, if someone accepts early, like, that's something we have to go with, because we can't wait forever. Like, we'd obviously love to have you with us, but we simply can't wait forever to fill positions. Like, that's just how it is. So as long as you're transparent and honest with that, I think people would appreciate that as well.
So, here's an example of work hire that you've ever made. What happened? Why such a bad hire?
Okay, so I'm not going to poke names.
Is the CEO running?
What?
Is the CEO running?
Well, I mean, I technically didn't hire him. It's more like the company's things. But that's a tough pairing. So I've had people where I've hired them and then they consistently fail at every bar. Like they look good on paper, like they seem to have a good track record. But whatever I gave them, they failed at. Whether it was something that they weren't excited for, they didn't care, they weren't skilled, whatever the reason is, back to test, right? They just didn't get any of those things done properly. Like, it's interesting how some people like draw a line and say like, oh, like firing people is like this gray area, and I think that if someone is like subject to being fired, it would be painfully obvious. Because like they're consistently fucking up every single decision. It's not like they make one or two mistakes. Like they're just messing up everything. So I've unfortunately been in that circumstance. That sucks. Had to let it go. But I don't know if that's worse than me hiring someone that lied to me like nearly every day. And they're very mischievous and a very like bad-hearted person. And I think that I look down upon myself as like a hiring manager to like actually like let that person in because they were able to deceive me. So I don't know. Like there's a balance. I think both of those are really horrible things. It's kind of tough to pick.
What are your thoughts on aligning new hires' goals with the company's goals so that they feel more inspired and kind of, have an output higher than what we would have even expected?
So I think that's actually a really good question because there's all these different talks and people have ideas of like how do like right from day one like start something, get someone excited for a company, start doing something, right? And one thing I noticed is there's a few ways that you can get people super excited. So obviously people want to like feel that they're doing something, they're not like doing stupid stuff, and that people are excited for what they're doing, right? Realistically, everyone wants that impact in their career, right? So I think a few things you can do is one, have them like commit something like as early as possible, even if it's like a super simple thing. Obviously, this depends on like business design and whatever. I feel that some people are like thrown in this silo of like where they're doing their own things, and then like eventually as they prove themselves, they're able to like get more exposure to other people. And I think as early as possible, if you were able to like expose that person's work to other people, whether it's like put in dog food or like share like, hey, here's this cool design that this new person made. If you can get other people's like input, like and able to like feed that back to that employee, not only is that good for personal growth, but like they're feeling, oh hey, like this is actually like impacting other people. Like I'm not just like the only person, like individual, like in a little silo in this company. So I think that's a very empowering thing to do. Obviously, people have their own like ambitions. Like if they say like if you're working for Dropbox and say I want to build like Slack or something,
mentioned the comment about it being illegal to turn someone down with a certain phrasing of for like the support response to them. What are a couple other like surprisingly illegal things about the hiring process that like might have caught you off guard going in?
Yeah, sure. So I think obviously there's lots of all the blanket discrimination stuff. Like if you start asking like specifics of these questions, like which nationality, like you can't do that. Like come on, realistically, I don't think that necessarily caught me off guard. But something that surprised me that was I don't know. I think I read up like a lot of nuances. Something that was like too like I feel like in general, if you feel that whatever you're doing is like wrong, it probably is. Like it's to some extent legal, but yeah.
I was working in something that didn't seem wrong.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything that like I felt was like really okay. That like I was realized like, oh shit, I was pretty wrong. Like I don't think I really realized that specifically.
So you mentioned that you suggested you have like hiring years or recruiting versus not. Is there a way to be both like proactive as opposed to reactionary in hiring while you're making like those on-off cycles? Like say I'm going into my recruitment phase because I think we need someone in 6 months.
Yes.
Or is that
Yeah.
how do you plan ahead of that?
So what you'd be able to do is always be networking, always be accepting applications, right? Applications are always open, but like for instance, at Microsoft, we have like interview like sessions, right? Like whether it's like fall or spring, like there are particular periods where everyone had an application in the past like half a year, we'll start processing and like interview those people. So I think always be open to like people like applying. As long as you say like, hey, like we're currently like not looking for a position, but like something may open up soon. Feel free to submit and like we'll get back to you. So like as long as you can like, because you always want to like obviously have that pool and get that as large as possible. So always keep that avenue open. But yeah, like realistically, it doesn't make sense to like start spending like lots of your time like interviewing and vetting these people if you don't have like a direct need, because then you're just like then they get stuck at the end, right? So if they get like later in the interview process, it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And well, we'll hire you, but that's like when we get a position like a year from now or something. So there's flexibility like smaller companies where you can't do that, but I think at larger companies like that line gets a lot more blurred. Like you're able to like get away with those types of things because there is just such a high demand and growth growing. So like as you get larger, like you'll be able to be more flexible.
So when you're trying to hire like A's, right? Not the B's and the C's. You want to come off as like a rock star, right? So like how have you personally tried to balance like, the rock star with the warm and welcoming?
Devon wears a little jacket.
So I guess what I'm saying is I'm assuming that it is a chance that you can come off as almost overbearing or like arrogant, right? Look at all the things I've done, everything I've won. You want to work with me, work with me, right? Is that, or that you could be like still impressive yet also inviting someone that you would actually want to hang out with, right? So how do you kind of have that pull of the aura of the rock star?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's that balance of, you can't just like list off your achievements and you're a douchebag. But yeah, so I think part of it is if you are truly a rock star, like you do not need to list off your credentials. Like you can ask, like if you say like you are truly a rock star backend developer, like I can ask you anything about backend, you'll just be able to like crush it like magic. And if you can't, you are a rock star, like done and done. So I think like in the interview process, like if you're talking with these people about things, I think it's different from like the soft skill like part where people I would only reactionary like provide those types of details because they're very proactive about flaunting yourself and like you're kind of weak. And so I think that like when you're in like the interview process, so like obviously people don't say things perfect, but I think that it'll come like very obvious point where if someone's like doing something and you say, well, have you thought of this? Or like this is a very specific reason why like don't say like this thing's wrong, like what happens when this, because this is going to lead to an issue with whatever they said. So like if wake up unless someone gives me a $50. Like, what's that? So like I just couldn't stand that call. Like, I just wanted to like hang up. Like I've had like more gruesome technical experiences, but like in the intro call, like I was like like I've had times where I did like hang up. I say, okay, like I understand, we're all good. Blah blah blah. Like I've done that. I don't hang up. No matter how rude people are to you, never be rude. That's just not constructive. And kind of what was that? It shows you're less of a person.
What's the fastest you ever run from my
Fast. So I think that that's more flexible with. It depends on the network. I think I've had a balance of if you need like very general programming people, you can get that very easily. Especially like general business people, kind of MBAs who sorry. So I think the fastest that I've ever like had those spots, just because they were very responsive. Like if they weren't very responsive to the curve, I think there's probably like 3 weeks. It's because we already like kind of knew this person, so like they weren't totally like cold call. Like we already had a general notion about them. We just needed to figure out like more for the specifics of like the position if they were a good fit, and like if they were like truly excited about what we were doing. So I was able to get that turnaround. So that was good. Usually ballpark things that I've seen like take 2 to 4 months. It's so stressful. 20 hours a day. Sorry, 20 hours a week. That's 20 hours a day.
Alright, so let's come at this with a little bit different perspective. So I myself am not done that many interviews, and I seriously haven't done many interviews with like big companies. And they don't all go like you guys have. But something I have a real problem with, and I know this is a problem with doing interviews, is that you can't work on the whiteboard. Like 95% of the time you can't come through. Someone asked me in an interview at like this shit company I didn't even care about. They asked me to literally just how do you print multiplication table, like I couldn't do it. But before that, they gave me like 4-page task on like programming questions with like serious answers where I had to write code on paper, and there was no problem. And if I could work it out on paper, not a problem. And then I came to work it out on paper and show it on paper. But like, would it be the worst thing in the world if like you're giving me this thing, you're like work this out on a whiteboard with me? If I said like, okay, pull out a pad of paper and said like, alright, give me 5 minutes. Is that like something where you're like, alright, I don't want this person, or is that something like, okay, this person knows how they can work? I would rather that.
Yeah. So I think some close-minded people like they say like, no, we have a process. Like I have a process. Like you're not going to be a fit. But I would think it's very important to be open because like, as I stated earlier, like people like interviewing is a skill, right? Like there's various positions in it, and just because like someone performs like really well or really poorly in interview, that doesn't necessarily correlate to how they perform in the position. So I kind of stress this notion of like, hey, like whatever works for you gets you comfortable. Like I want to just like get you in your zone, like whatever makes you happy. Like cool, we'll do that, and then we'll just it's not like me asking you all like all these absurd or arbitrary questions. Like say like, hey, like here's an interesting thing. Like I don't like these brain teasers. Like I just want to pose a legitimately interesting question that I feel like someone would be curious about. And, like let's work together on this, right? Like obviously I already know the answer, but like I am here to help you to see how you can do this, right? So like if you want to like write on paper and say, oh yeah, no, like this is just how I work. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, as long as it doesn't take like 10 days to write down the paper.
Yeah, no, it would be the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like on a different medium. Yeah. Just for some reason, like having it on a wall and like with the markers and stuff, it just doesn't do it.
I think it's important for companies to be flexible. And also, like, if a company's going to be great and not flexible about that, like, you probably need one more.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So I've heard about the hiring model where you basically hire from a contract pool, right? So you take in a contractor, they work for you a while, you can evaluate you make the decision whether or not to hire them. So can you touch on that as a hiring tip?
Yeah, sure. So SpaceX does that practically 100% of all employees who are contractors for some length of time, and then eventually say, okay, yeah, you're good enough, we'll hire you. Even though they do like treat them just like any other like new employee, right? Don't make that difference. Don't like really make that weird. If they want to still set, that's their thing. But I've actually been able to pull that off in a few circumstances. This is why I listed. And I think it's interesting how you're able to pitch this in a creative way, right? So some people, when they look at it, like, oh, I'm going to contract you for 3 months, is saying like, oh, like I think you might be okay. I'm going to like test you out for 3 months, and if you meet my standards, then we'll like give you a real job. Like then we'll give you full time, right? So that's like a negative way some people pitch it. But there's a surprisingly very sneaky, positive way you can trick people into doing this. It's horrible. It's totally like fucked up. So essentially, what you say is like, we understand that full-time commitment, especially like at a small company, is like really large commitment. It's not like this big corporation. So the idea is, we want to stress like we want a really good fit, like not only us but you, but like we want to make sure that you're really happy with us, not like the whole company, like obviously the whole company, but also like the specific people that you're working with. It's like everyone has different working styles, we understand. So you want to see like do our working styles match up with yours, like you that cohesiveness is big. So what we'll do is we'll have like a few months to say, hey, like try us out, we'll pay you whatever your full-time wage would be, that's fine. And at the end you say like, okay, like is this a cool thing? Did you like us? Would you want to consider us like working here for multiple years? Being more full-time on board with us. And then we can have that discussion. And if we feel like it's a good match, then we after that period goes up, and awesome, we look at it. So that's a very fun sneaky way. It's works. I love it.
So, one of the ways you evaluate things was using examples, right? Have you ever thought, or have you ever given, someone who wanted to interview like a task or like a project and then like, yo, you want to pump this up and and that way you can see how they work on things or have you thought about or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think there's a difference in scale of everything, right? So you can't just like there's a balance of like giving them like whatever task, giving them something that's relevant to the position. Like if it's something the company's actually going to use, right? Then like is that actually like a big portion? Is it small? Because like are you paying these people to do it? Like those are lots of different factors to consider. So I've had periods where like we'd say just for like a weekend or like 1 week, right? Say name something that's really exciting to you. When you say like search engine, graphics, whatever, right? Whatever it is, right? I don't care. Pick whatever. It doesn't even have to be pertinent stuff, right? And I can have this flexibility because like it's a small company. And I would say like, okay, cool. Let's both work on that thing. Like let's have like a week, like you'll be coding on it, and we'll be coding on it, and let's just like make it awesome. Like let's see what we do in a week. Let's tear it up. So I think that's a good approach. That like necessarily you're not having to pay them because it's not like a company thing. So that like there's a little less like legal hurdles with that. And also like you can really only figure out so much in an interview, like because people kind of like they frame themselves in the way that they want, and like there's no experience that you can like substitute just working with someone and like hanging out with them. Like if you hang out with someone for a few days, like you'll learn way more than you could ever learn from an interview. So that kind of gets paired up with this whole like I want to work on your project thing. And also it's especially like if someone can't come up with something that they're really excited about or passionate for, I'm like, you're a boring person. I don't want you to do this company. Because like if I ask you like what's something you're really excited about that you want to work on, like you couldn't name it, I'd be like, okay, well you seem like you're either not driven or excited or something, so that's an issue that I need to evaluate. But yes, that's like an extra trick. There's always like this extra data you can get from something. Yeah, I've had to do that.
You listed a couple things that were glossed over during the presentation of advice that goes around with that. Right? So I don't think like we wrote like specific like the notes stuff, right?
Yeah.
The notes. What do you think is the worst note that you hear all the time, and it really bugs you when people suggest it?
So just so I make sure I understand your question. So are you saying what is the worst don't where other people like it's popular to say, oh, don't do this.
Other people say do this.
Yeah.
But it's actually bad and it goes around a lot. Is there anything like that? Because I know in every field or any subject matter is advice that's a common advice that goes around. It's actually
somebody was putting on their piece of paper and you just couldn't believe it.
Oh, yes. Exactly. Okay, so this is one thing. I banned this candidate. Never going to hire this guy. Ever. So on the resume, he had like all his list, all his like works, all that stuff. Like I've dealt with a variety of resumes from like undergrad people, like past PhD, like industry. Like I had like 15-page resumes and like 1 page. No, like I understand the role, guys. But like if you have like a PhD and you've been in industry for like 20 years, like you can have a short version and a long version. They send long versions. So like that's actually fine. That's like me next year. This one has he was an undergrad. On his resume, he listed his LinkedIn profile. Not like a little icon, link, bottom of the page, pretty big font. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, this guy lists some projects, that's interesting. I clicked that link. I opened in my browser a link to his GitHub profile. And in his GitHub profile, he has 0 projects and 0 commits. He literally just made a GitHub profile and then just put a link to it. I'm like,
Thinking nobody, I hope nobody clicks
he
on this.
hopes no one checks it. But it's just like, that's a really ballsy move.
That is ballsy.
That's like, that gets him a little bit credit. But just the fact of like, just glaring details, if someone just clearly wasn't paying attention or they don't care, or they're not like thinking about like, what is the impact of this, right? And if they're not thinking about the impact of things, like, there's never going to do anything. So yeah, no, that was just something that I saw. I was like, oh my god. I didn't share the name, but like, I told a few people about it. Like, Jesus.
Have you ever called out a liar in an interview before?
So there's a difference, let's say, people misleading about like how to do a problem. Say if someone's like, doing something technical or to describe something purposely like vague because they don't want to tell you the answer, because like, they think it's going to be bad, even though I already know the answer because I've already like thought about it. So that I'll give people a little leeway and like let them get away with that. Even though like I'll specifically prod questions until eventually like they'll beat it out and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, fuck me, whatever. But there have been times where people were like, I don't think I've had an egregious liar in like an interview. Like I don't think I've had someone like lie about their education or lie about their job. But I've had people they're very hyperbolic of their influence in a previous position. They like listed, oh, here are all the great things I did at company X. So I asked them about company X very deeply. And I said, hey, like, you said you did this. How did you do this part? What was this part? Doesn't that mean you would run into this issue? How do you resolve that issue? This leads to this problem. How do you solve that problem? And I'll keep asking them questions and get deeper and deeper and deeper until I realize they break. And they realize they break and they go, okay, yes, I wasn't the person that solved that thing. Like, I was really like the minor person on that. They don't believe devs on that. I'm like, thank you, okay. Then I'll take that into consideration. It doesn't like 100% disprove them, because I understand some people want to embellish to an extent and some people can't draw a line. But I strongly take that into consideration. That didn't kill him instantly. But yes, I definitely like fucking made him uncomfortable. Yes, don't get away with the lies in there.
You see people who put their links to LinkedIn, but it's actually just the LinkedIn symbol and the Twitter symbol on their physical paper resume.
Oh, because it's a PDF and you can't click it, yeah. So I haven't, most of the people that I've seen, they actually put like the link. I don't think most people put the social media.
You should check LinkedIn. You should check Indeed. There's a lot of people who actually put images of LinkedIn and Twitter and like whatever link, but it's not actually a link. It's like something you click on. It's like digital.
Yeah, I'm able about those details, but I can understand some people like writing on slips, they don't understand like difference like PDF and stuff. But I've probably like seen it in a few places, but like it's whatever. Like it doesn't really shine with like saying like this person's completely incompetent or whatever. So
I had people forward me just a LinkedIn link that goes to your profile, so I opened it.
oh yes.
Like Jordan, this guy's awesome. Like,
Who was this Jordan guy?